Do you think you could live in a house where people were killed?
If I didn't know about it, I probably would.
I don't know. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be me. I couldn't do that.
You know, unfortunately something bad happened here, but it's still just a house. So, the house is more important than the history.
In 1994, 37-year-old Michael Rummelt murdered his parents Francis and Margaret in the home that they shared. In 2003, Laura Hoffman bought that house.
I went and told my mom that I found the perfect house, but there was a sale pending, and she said, "Oh, I used to play in that house." And then she told me about who lived here.
My mother went to high school with Margaret, and they were good friends, and they still were in touch after they got married, obviously, and had kids. And so that's why we used to go over there and visit.
Francis, when I was a little kid, probably 8, 10 years old, and he was a very brilliant man. And he did electrical work, mechanical work, he did everything. But he just lost it along the way.
I mean, the mom was nice. I mean, I would say they were nice, but they weren't your typical mom and dad.
Oh, I always thought she was a loose cannon, and she was about ready to explode anytime you got near her. But then she was in the hospital for many times. What's the word I want to use? Huh?
R-wing.
R-wing.
Her parents, whoever owned all that land, wanted my parents to take an acre of land and build a house there because Margaret wanted my mother to live near her, but my dad didn't want to live that far out in the country, so they stayed in Henrietta. As friends often do, you know, they kind of lost touch because when I was old enough to remember things, I don't remember ever going over there. It was just when I was really young, so.
Francis and Margaret had 3 kids in all. Michael had stuck around when his siblings moved away.
Awful attitude. He was a nice kid, but he still had a terrible attitude.
And I can still hear her yelling his name, you know, Michael!
Well, he didn't do anything he had to do. He never had to work. I don't think he ever had a job.
She basically, you know, hung out at the bars, and, you know, when you sit in a bar all day and drink.
Michael had kids of his own with his wife, Darla. About a year before the killings, Darla got financial help from Lou's brother, Santo Viola, to leave Henrietta with their kids. Michael was deserted. Just a few days before the murders, 4-year-old Kaylee Ann Polton went missing from her apartment complex, about 10 miles from the Rummelt's home.
I spent all of Sunday with her from 8:30 in the morning to 8:30 that evening. Took her to the Discovery Zone with my girlfriend's son, and we had a lot of fun. It was a great day. But I haven't seen her since then.
Kaylee's father cried for his daughter's return while more than 100 searchers combed a 4 to 5 mile area near the complex where she disappeared.
You know, little girl vanishes, everybody is looking for her. And it was big local news, And then they found her. And it wasn't here.
It bothered me because a friend of mine, Debbie, had lived in that apartment complex. I mean, it was just horrific.
My kids were that age at that point. Lauren was.
Days after the disappearance, Michael came home from the bar, flipped on the news, and saw Kaylee's face. Fearing for her life, he took his shotgun upstairs and shot his parents dead. He told investigators that he believed his parents kidnapped, harmed, and ate little kids. Kaylee Polton was eventually found dead, murdered by her neighbor, nowhere near the Rummelt house.
Where would they keep him if he lived in the basement? This house is only so big. But, I mean, it just shows he was not thinking rationally.
And I can't imagine having a child so disturbed and not have him forcefully get help as my brother had to forcefully get help.
Cindy saw something in Michael's story that she recognized, a family forced to face the mental illness of one of their own. Her brother Joe has schizophrenia, In his 20s, he was hospitalized and eventually diagnosed with the disorder after he was found pacing the house with a gun, saying he heard people walking on the roof.
That's when they said, as long as you take your medicine, then, you won't have to come back here. And that's why I believe he always has. But I remember when I went out to the car, I just sat there in the parking lot and I just cried because it was terrible, to be locked up like that. But thank God, it's been 40 years and he's never been back there, so.
Michael told investigators that he killed his parents to stop them from harming more little kids. He also made other statements about being abducted by aliens and about his parents caving his skull in, cutting his arms and legs off, and burning him alive when he was younger.
He needed medicine desperately and didn't have it.
When they used to sleep in the basement, and he used to tell me he had all the rats down in the basement, and he'd spend the night killing rats down there so they wouldn't bother the babies. And he was just a plain goofy guy. The whole family was.
I feel bad that they didn't get to live out their happy years here like they planned on. They raised their kids here just like I did, and I hope to live here forever, and I'm sure they thought they would too.
Michael, to have been that disturbed and to believe those things, and did they not know they could do a mental health arrest and get him help? Were they afraid to do it? It was very difficult, obviously, when they forced my brother out of the house, but it was thank God they did.
Interviews conducted during the investigation raised even more questions about the motive behind what Michael did.
And the evidence they brought us, the evidence that the jury heard, included statements that this defendant had made before the crime indicating that he was going to kill his parents and that he was going to use that defense.
That defense, mental disease or defect, sometimes referred to as insanity.
In a way, it makes me think a little bit of my brother, because just that strange look and that just staring off into space. He does that a lot.
I thought he looked about the cleanest I've ever seen him.
He definitely looks a mess. He looks disheveled.
Ultimately, he was convicted of 2 counts of second-degree murder, 25 years to life. Today, Laura and the Hoffmans live happily.
My grandmother, whose best friend it was, obviously I talked to her about it, and she was like, there's nothing dark about the house. It was just something that happened in the house, and that was my best friend. And
I'm glad you boys grew up there because you were close by me. And it's a nice house.
Yeah, I realize that it's not a usual situation. As long as I wasn't afraid to live here, everybody was like, why not? It's a house. It's, unfortunately something bad happened here, but it's still just a house.
One day, Laura received an envelope in the mail. No name, no return address. Inside, photos of Margaret, Francis, and Michael.
I knew immediately who it was, but if I didn't know the story of the house, I would not have known. But that was the only one, and I still don't know who sent it. I can only assume that it was somebody from the family, probably thinking somebody doesn't know what happened in that house. Let me send something so that maybe they can investigate, but I don't know.
What happened in a house doesn't have to define it forever.
But, obviously it's sad. I know what happened there, but things happen. So we've filled it with different energy.